Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you're working in real estate right now, you already know the landscape has totally shifted. I mean, it is no longer just about location, 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 right? Now, it's all about transparency, sustainability, and hard, verifiable data. Institutional investors are demanding crystal clear, standardized ESG reporting, and the SASB standards are exactly what they're looking for. But let's be honest, reading through these dense regulatory documents, it can kind of feel like trying to decipher an ancient language. So, let's decipher it together. In this explainer, we're going to navigate the SASB standards and literally translate them into actionable metrics. We're creating a definitive guide on exactly how to report the floor area and the number of buildings under your management that are either provided with sustainability services or have officially obtained energy ratings like Energy Star or LEED. Here's how we're breaking it down today. First, the real estate ESG blueprint. Second, scoping your floor area. Third, reporting sustainability services. Fourth, reporting official energy ratings. And finally, validating your ratings schemes.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the Real Estate ESG Blueprint, Standardizing Reporting.
Okay, let's dive into this. Standardizing our reporting is absolutely crucial because institutional investors, well, they need to compare apples to apples. In the real estate services industry, buildings drive just massive energy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, water use, waste, the whole shebang. So when you offer sustainability services, you are directly impacting those metrics. You're decreasing operating costs and ultimately improving asset values. When we look at the official SASB framework for real estate services, we're going to focus like a laser on two specific metrics sitting right in the middle, IFRS 410A.2 and IFRS 410A.3. The first one requires you to report the floor area and the number of buildings under management provided with energy and sustainability services. The second, it requires the exact same quantitative data, floor area and building count, but specifically for buildings that have obtained an official energy rating. These two metrics are essentially the heartbeat of your ESG reporting. They quantify your actual impact. So let's demystify exactly how to calculate them. Moving along to Section 2, scoping your floor area, establishing boundaries. So before we can actually report anything regarding sustainability services or energy ratings, we have to establish our boundaries. As preparers of these reports, we have to know exactly what physical space we're actually allowed to measure and claim. The crucial point here is defining our baseline. The SASB standard relies on a very specific definition for floor area under management. It's defined as the gross rentable floor area where property management services are provided and for which the real estate owner has operational control. Notice that powerful little word, and? It requires two entirely distinct conditions to be met. You can't just provide a service. The owner absolutely must also have operational control of the space. If both of those conditions aren't met, there is no way you can include that square meterage or that building in your final tally. And this brilliantly illustrates the second half of that prerequisite. What exactly is operational control? Well, the standard aligns directly with the 2018 GRESB Real Estate Assessment Reference Guide. It means the real estate owner has the actual, literal ability to introduce and implement operating policies, health and safety policies, or environmental policies. Think of it this way. If the owner has leased out the building entirely and basically stripped themselves of the power to enforce an environmental policy, they don't have operational control. Therefore, you can't count that building in your metrics, even if you're providing some sort of management services. You can't just claim credit for your tenant's hard work if you aren't the one steering the ship. It's a really vital filter that ensures we're only reporting on spaces where we can actually drive meaningful change. Which brings us to Section 3, reporting sustainability services, metric IFRS 410A2. Okay, now that we know exactly how to scope our floor area, let's dive into the specific services. This is Pillar 1 of our blueprint, a deep dive into metric IFRS 410A2. This is exactly where we report the total floor area and the specific number of buildings provided with energy and sustainability services during the reporting period. But, what actually counts as a sustainability service? The standard is highly specific here. If you're providing utility data management, submetering to measure electric usage, advising on renewable energy procurement, or actively consulting to help a client get a LEED certification, you absolutely count that floor area and building. But we also have to look at the exclusions. You cannot count services that improve energy performance in just a minimal or indirect way. Basic, ordinary facilities maintenance doesn't count. Standard janitorial services? Nope, they don't count either. It must be a dedicated service directly related to resource efficiency or sustainability consulting. If it meets that bar, tally up those square meters and add the building to your count.
Let's move right into Section 4, reporting official energy ratings metric IFRS 410A.3. Now we're at Pillar 2 of our reporting blueprint. We just covered metric 410A.2, which is all about the services you provide. Now we're looking at metric IFRS 410A.3, which requires you to report the floor area and number of buildings that have obtained an official energy rating. Now, what's really interesting about this is the stark contrast between these two concepts. As a reporter, it is incredibly easy to accidentally blur these two metrics together, but they are fundamentally different. Services represent ongoing actions. You're actively managing data or consulting on a certification. Ratings, on the other hand, represent finalized, achieved, and official stamps of approval. One is the journey, and the other is the destination. You literally must report them separately to give investors a true, accurate picture of both your active efforts and your tangible achievements. And when it comes to those achievements, there are some very strict rules of engagement. I want to speak directly to you as the reporter here. You cannot grade your own homework, and you definitely cannot count almost finished projects. The SASB standard firmly mandates that energy ratings must be awarded before or during the reporting period. Pre-assessments, not valid. Unofficial forms of pre-certification, not valid. Furthermore, and this is a big one, because some energy ratings actually expire, the certification must be officially active and effective during your specific reporting period. If a rating lapsed 2 years ago, well, that floor area drops right out of your metric. It really requires constant vigilance over your portfolio's certificate lifecycle. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, validating your rating scheme's recognized frameworks. So, we know the rating has to be official and active. So let's put the roof on our blueprint by outlining exactly which schemes pass the test. Just hanging any plaque on a wall will not do. The standard gives us a rapid-fire checklist of allowable GRESB-aligned schemes. If you operate in the US or Canada, you're looking for Energy Star ratings. In Europe, it's the EU Energy Performance Certificates, or EPCs. Over in Australia and New Zealand, it's Neighbours Energy and Neighbours NZ. They also allow for official government energy efficiency benchmarking or other schemes that you can actively prove have substantially equivalent criteria and methodology to those gold standards. When you're combing through your portfolio's data to tally up your total floor area and building count for metric 410A.3, these are the exact certificates you need to be scanning for. Wow, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We defined our operational control, we separated our ongoing sustainability services from our officially achieved energy ratings, and we outlined exactly which frameworks actually pass the test. Mastering these metrics is exactly what allows for those crucial apples-to-apples investor comparisons that drive the modern market. By structuring your data this way, you aren't just checking a box to comply with a standard. You're clearly showcasing the tangible value and sustainability you bring to the built environment. So I'll leave you with this final thought to take back to your teams. Based on the exact definitions and strict exclusions we've just unpacked, is your real estate portfolio truly ready for this new standard of transparency?